Speaking of Hall of Famers, and this guy established himself last week on the program here, we want to feature the Daily Degenerate, and no one better to fit that role than our good friend Troy West, who is West, way West, man. I mean, he's out there watching the Kraken practice in Seattle and maybe watching the Mariners go down in another game. Troy, congratulations. You're 1-for-1 on the show, documented picks here after giving out the Rangers last week. But I think by the time it got to our Caffeine TV viewers and listeners, the Rangers were already in the clubhouse with the victory, slugging down a couple of beers and having a couple of sandwiches off the buffet. How are you, my friend?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, 1-0. And hopefully we can get the listeners in Florida another one. And actually, the game I like today, which obviously we'll get to in a little bit, we're going down to Florida. A couple of Florida teams going off in baseball today that I like.
Get on here. I mean, the Rays and the Marlins are in a series. The Rays dominated yesterday. I remember when we thought Trevor Rogers was going to be a really outstanding pitcher. This guy can't get out of the first inning anymore without getting cuffed up for a few runs. And I think it was also really good. And we have the Marlins. This was our best bet of the century. We had inside information on the Marlins, or at least we thought we did, that they were going to just be decimated by the time they got to midseason. We did not anticipate, Troy, that they would get off to the horrendous start that they did to that level. We thought they were going to be bad. It does seem impossible. I mean, would it be rude for us to get online right now at the sports book in Las Vegas where we made this wager and ask to collect? Because they have to hit 79 wins, which means they have to win 58 more games out of, I believe they have either 101 or 102 left. The odds of them going 58 and 44, what would seem to be slim to none. But is it out of line for us to maybe try and collect right now? What do you think?
No, they should have that cash out early option, right? Without a doubt. Yeah. The Marlins, young pitching. I thought, guys like Braxton Garrett, Trevor Rogers, I thought there was a lot of hope for this team, but no, they just haven't been able to get it together. They keep having management changes. They get rid of their best hitter and send him off to the Padres. So yeah, they're just a mess. They're kind of like the Rays. They kind of get some nucleus going and then they just let it go.
That was a gift from the gambling gods when they traded Louis Arias, because that was not necessarily anticipated. They had him under contract at what would seem to be a fairly reasonable number for his level of performance. I mean, this is a guy that right now, he got off to a slow start this year with the Marlins. And then since he's gone to the Padres, he's now leading the National League by 10 points at batting average, hitting .340, which puts him in a position, and you would think he was going to be able to sustain this because he has to be hitting somewhere in the .380 range to have raised his average to .340 with the Padres. This guy is going to win 3 straight batting crowns in 2 different leagues, having won in the American League 2 years ago, National League last year, and do it again. So, of course, what could you ask for when you have the under on a season total and the team somehow in late April decides, let's get rid of our best player? Even though we could pay this guy next to nothing by comparison to others of his caliber imagine this guy. It's not like he's making Lindor money and hitting .340 with the Padres. You couldn't ask for a better gift, could you?
No, it made absolutely no sense. And now he's protected in that lineup with guys like Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado. So it's obviously a huge jump for his career as well. But yeah, sometimes, it's not just the Marlins. It's amazing what these general managers do. I mean, out here in Seattle, it's the same type of deal. Year after year, you've got head scratchers. But this was an all-time head scratcher because this is a guy I thought you could have built your lineup around for years to come. So to let him loose and really not get a whole lot in return, and like you said, not a big salary, not a salary dump at all either. So it just did not make sense. Marlins aren't the only team, but this was a head scratcher without a doubt.
Well, and we sort of saw it coming. We didn't see it coming to this level of absurdity, but we knew that the Marlins were probably going to be a lousy team to begin the season. And by the time they got around maybe to the trade deadline, they'd be dumping virtually anybody that had any value. But and that was a gift from the gods of gambling. Seldom do you get something like that, because a good friend of ours called us and said, this team is really going to suck this year. And he was not the kind of guy that was inclined to be pessimistic about it. If anything, he was just the opposite. He was screaming at guys on the air forever who weren't either paying enough attention to the Marlins or had a negative impression of them. And he would actually arbitrarily call radio shows and say, hey, wait a minute, you guys aren't even watching. So for him to call us and say, this team's going to suck, certainly was an eye-opener. All right, what are you thinking today then? You have the Rays and the Marlins going at it. The Rays dominant. They win at 9-5 last night. And what are we looking at tonight? You got Garrett, who you like, against my favorite starter, which would be to be determined. I don't know if that means they're going to have an opener there for Cash, but what do you think? Do the Marlins have a shot today behind Garrett, who's been pitching pretty well?
No, I'm rolling with the Rays again. I saw this price at about minus 145. I've got Zach Eflin going for the Rays today. One of their better starters. This guy's been outstanding. I like the Rays. You know, the Rays have been they've been a tough bet this year. They've come out of the gate real slow. This has been a team that I think had higher expectations, and they're struggling right now in the NL East, or excuse me, in the AL East. But I like them. They looked good yesterday. Their bats are starting to come alive. Eflin's a great pitcher. This is a guy that carves up bad lineups. Give me the Rays, low price, minus 145. I like the Rays. That's going to get us to 2-0, Defo.
I would think so, yeah. Any thoughts on tomorrow night's game? The Celtics going against the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Lubie and I have already condemned the Mavericks to losing in 4 because we'd like them to win the series. And yeah, I mean, when you look at the head-to-head competition so far, and the fact that a lot of handicappers are recommending you just take what seems to be a cinch, and that is Jason Tatum to win the series conference. I mean, the NBA Finals MVP at minus 120. As the MVP, except for Jerry West that 1 year, is going to come off the winning team, and it seems like Tatum just chews up the Dallas Mavericks. What do you think? Any impressions on the series?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I'm not going to come out boldly and say that the Celtics are going to win the series, but I do think the Celtics win the series relatively easy. You know, this Celtic team, let's be honest, in modern day, this is an unbelievable stat for you. They were underdogs in 3 basketball games this year. 3, let that sink in. That's the regular season and the playoffs combined. They were underdogs in 3 games. They lost 2 playoff games. They had a gentleman's sweep against the Heat, another gentleman's sweep against the Cavs, and then they swept the Pacers. I get the competition wasn't great, but this is a good basketball team. They've got Porzingis back. You're not giving a lot of credit, not saying you guys, the public's not giving a lot of credit to guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday. These are great defenders. I think they're going to give guys like Kyrie and Luka Doncic a handful. These guys are great defenders. Tatum can defend. Jaylen Brown can defend. Al Horford can defend. This is a really good Celtic basketball team that won 62 games and have ran right through the playoffs. They haven't done it. They just haven't been sexy. They haven't been beating teams by 15 to 20 points every night. They've kind of just gone through the motions. They get their 7'2" center that can shoot the ball. He's going to be back. I expect him to be back and healthy as well. They kind of held him out. So I like the Celtics in 5 or 6. That's probably the bet I would really go with. 6.5 points. Vegas isn't dumb. I think that a lot of people are going to be on Dallas tomorrow, and I think you're going to see the Celtics win this game by double digits.
Oh, I can't imagine that Lubie could remain silent during that because
bring it up.
Nobody despises the Celtics more than Mike Lubie. I don't even think Riley hates him.
I am not a Celtics fan by any means, but I think this is a good basketball team, well-coached, veteran team. They've been together a long time. They're ready to win an NBA championship.
I think Lubie's hedging and saying that Porzingis won't make it through the first half of game number 1. What do you think, Lubie?
Quarter 2. He's talking Porzingis at all. He hasn't played in 2 months, and he's Mr. Injury. So, yeah, I don't. The Porzingis thing, I think, is something the Celtics are using to give themselves even more hope than they already have. I don't know. I think they've had a cake route, and I think they played with their food with the cake route. And to me, dominant teams don't do that. I think the Mavs are playing much better basketball than the Celtics right now. I think people are counting on the names of Holiday and the names of Tatum and the names of Brown more than the actual reality of what the team we saw in front of us. The Mavs are playing vastly better basketball right now. And I think people don't stay up late at night to watch them. And I think that's what it is. I think the East Coast bias to me is more pronounced now than it's ever been. To hail this Celtics team as a great team and to scoff at the Mavs, and you're out west, so you've seen the Mavs. But the overwhelming idea that the Celtics are just going to roll, I find hard to believe. Maybe Porzingis will be the big knight in shining armor. I don't see that at all. The dude's injured his entire career. Game like 1 of the playoffs, misses the next 2 months with an injury that keeps you out like a week or 2. So, like for most guys in the playoffs, that's just who he is. I don't count on Porzingis at all, and I think this series is gonna be a lot tougher than people think. The way Luke and Kyrie are playing right now, good luck to Derek White and old man Drew Holiday to try and stop it. I just don't. I don't think it's gonna be the series that people are thinking. I think the line is where it is for a reason. I think the Mavs have played the best basketball of any team in the playoffs. They played a vastly superior order of teams and beat them stronger. They played better teams and beat them stronger game by game than the Celtics did with crap. Like they played 3 teams that wouldn't have made the playoffs with the rosters they had at the time. And every game out, the Heat series was what the Heat series was. They were missing everybody. But the Pacers and Cavs games, every game was tight for the most part, except for like 2 games. And neither teams had their best players. For pretty much, look, Halliburton was hurt the whole series, and Mitchell was hurt the whole series, and both missed half the series. So to me, the Celtics will probably win this series just because they are a little deeper than the Mavs, and they've been there before, where this Mavs team hasn't. But to me, the idea that they're just going to roll, I don't know. I find it hard to believe, but you're not wrong.
I don't necessarily think they're going to roll. I think having Porzingis is more of a bonus. I think they win this series without Porzingis. I just think it adds another element to this team, having a 7'2" guy that can shoot the ball. And I think he is coming in healthy. I think they held him out of that Pacers series because they didn't need him. And I just think the Celtics they've been a product of who they've played, right? I mean, you are who you play. And yeah, I understand that it hasn't been sexy through the playoffs, but I think the Celtic team's going to take their game up to another level. This is a really deep basketball team that's well coached. And they've been, they've been in the finals 3 out of the last 4 years. I think they're ready to win one here.
All right. We have to put you into our situational stipulation for today. Ever had the wife or the girlfriend come home early from a trip while you were in bed with another woman? Has that ever happened to you? And she says, who's that? And you say, woman, what woman?
Yeah.
No, it hasn't happened.
Did that happen to Lubie this week? Boy, let's just say I've been lucky not to get caught. Right now, we won't get into that, but that's a good one. That's good. Has not happened. Did that happen to Lubie?
No, but it's happened in Major League Baseball. I mean, their worst fears are being manifested in reality because all these guys are betting out yet another scandal following the Ohtani thing, which somehow they managed to get rid of very quickly by sending this interpreter off to prison. I wonder. He probably has an agreement with either Biden or Trump to be pardoned immediately and sent back to Japan, where to become an executive with Mizuno. Pretty incredible. All right, Troy, where can people get the information? You've got the Rays today as your pick of the day here on the Daily Degenerate, and you think the Celtics, public sentiment very much in line with your thinking that the Celtics will handle the Dallas Mavericks, even though Lubie and I are rooting for the Mavericks because not necessarily anti-Celtic bias, just it seems to me, I tend to agree with Lubie that the Celtics have had the path of least resistance carved out in almost unimaginable proportions. Where can people get more from Troy West?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. It's Troy West. TroyWins.com is the website. You can come to our website, put in your phone number. We're happy to give you a free play. We're hot right now. We had a really nice play on the Mariners last night. They took care of business 4-3 against the Athletics. Got a great slate going today. We'll have the hockey playoffs right around the corner. We cover golf. We got the Memorial this weekend. It's going to be a great golf tournament. We cover absolutely everything. It's not just me. It's a team of guys. $29 a week. It's the best bargain in the industry, but you can come to my website. We're happy to give you a free pick. It's TroyWins.com.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much for getting up on the West Coast with us. And we'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.